Oh, test. So we're just waiting till 8 o'clock to go fully live. So hello, anyone that is watching at the moment and has joined a little bit early, please let me know if the microphone is working and you can hear me okay. This is a bit of a test as well of my new setup, so let me know if you can indeed hear me. Let me know in the comments. So topics for today: life without home charging with an EV or electric car, my Cybertruck order or pre-order, and who indeed will survive COVID-19 car companies after this all sort of blows over. And then finally, Q&A at the end if people want to ask questions. We'll try and get them there. So please put comments in below, and we'll try and get to as many as we can throughout the course of this. May not be, I'm not sure how long this will be, depends on how long and how much people interact. It's only my second ever live event. It's new laptop, new microphone, camera. I need to get a better one because I imagine it's a little bit grainy, but hopefully it's sufficient at the moment with the way things are. And yeah, we'll get started in a couple of minutes. Not entirely sure how to tell. Well, I can see how many is watching. I'm not sure how we tell. We've got participants. Hot chat. Double timestamp. Okay. Okay, looks like 7 people, which is great. Thank you very much for joining. Let me know if you can hear me in the comments. New microphone set up and everything, so we'll see if that works out. If it does, happy days. If it doesn't, I'll try and fix it quickly. Sporting my can't get my hair cut and can't be asked to shave look after probably 5 weeks from working from home at the moment. So going full caveman, I think, by the end of this. Okay, so 8 o'clock. So here we go. So, welcome to the chat, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well and keeping safe in these crazy times. So there's a few, just to reiterate, there's a few things. I'm testing this rig out for the first time. Let me know if you can hear me in the comments. Please do interact during the time here. Consider subscribing if you want to do more of this. If you want me to do more of this sort of stuff, as well as all my EV channel stuff and my Eastgate stuff as well, and just some topics that I've kind of, to be honest, picked out of the air a little bit in terms of what I want to talk about. One is my electric car journey in terms of owning an electric car but don't have any home charging, not the ability to home charge. My Cybertruck pre-order, and who will survive this pandemic in terms of car companies. And then after that, a bit of Q&A. Obviously, feel free to drop some comments and questions in there, and we'll try and get through a lot of these as much as I can. Thank you for all those that are watching at the moment. I think there's 9 of you at the moment. Don't forget to shout out in the comments. Make sure that you throw your voice out there. And I also have a Patreon as well. So if you feel the need, please join that. It's pretty cheap, and to be honest, it's there to help grow this channel. And thank you very much to my current patrons. That's much supported. So let's get into the first topic then. So my electric car journey. So I currently own a BMW i3. Have done for about 2.5 years now. And back when I was looking around for a car, as my previous car had gone kaput, it never occurred to me around electric cars. It didn't seem back then, even 2.5 years ago, which seems crazy now, that it would fit my lifestyle at all. And it's something that I didn't even consider. And when we was looking around for cars, I test drove loads of normal petrol diesel cars at the time. I had a young child, so I needed something that was kind of family friendly as well, and started to try out some electric cars. So I tried out the Ioniq, the hybrid at the time. I tried a Nissan Leaf, 24 kilowatt hour at the time. None that really kind of ticked the boxes. Nothing wrong with either of them. They just didn't. One was too short range for what I did for work. I done a 70-mile round trip to the office, and then I had tried the Ioniq, and that was a nice car, but it wasn't fully electric where I wanted to go. I thought if I wanted to go to full electric, I had to go all in. I couldn't just do a bit of half-heartedness. So I done that. Test drove those. At the time, my boss had bought himself a Tesla Model S and then a Model X. Obviously, clearly out of my price range, unfortunately, at the time, he'd bought those outright, and I was not really looking for something of that expense. And essentially, apparently somebody says echo is super echo. Let's try turning that down if that's any better. I'll try and sort out the comments. So bear with me 1 second. I'll try and sort out the comments. I can see the hi. Can you all see chat window? How's this? How's that? Is that all right? How's that? Does that work? I can see your chat. Worse. Still echoing. All right. Told you it was a test. 1 second. How's that? Echoey. Is that echoey still? Ah, perfect. Cool. Thanks, guys. You can hear me okay then, yeah? Excellent. Get in there, see? It's all a test. All a test. Perfect. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining. I really do appreciate you. Hello, Iris Dinks, Richard, Darren, and Keith. Thank you very much for joining. That is much appreciated for you to join me tonight. So really, and please let me know during this whole stream if there is any problems and stuff like that. It's brilliant because this is only the second time and it's a new rig, so perfecting a few bits and yeah, we'll get there. But yeah, so my journey with the I suppose getting into EVs and things like that, I didn't even consider my i3 at the time, and it was something that by chance I went past a garage in Hitchin where I live, and I just spotted this white i3, and it was like a bit of a strange looking car. Anyone that owns an i3 or seen an i3, you know, knows it's a little bit kind of Marmite type car, and it's something that I had to have a drive of it. I had to see what it was like because I tried all these other ones. I've been in a Tesla, and obviously that was great, but it wasn't my price range. And I thought, oh, let's give this a go. Got in the car, like most people, put your foot down, instant torque. Everything about it felt right. The space inside was really good. Without the pillars and things like that in there, there was enough room for the little child seat in the back. The boot wasn't particularly massive, but it was enough for what we needed. And I just fell in love with the car, to be honest. Now, bearing in mind, at this point, I still do. I live in a block of flats. I live on a second floor apartment and no charging facilities where I am. Now, back 2.5 years ago, that was even worse in that Hitchin only had something like 2 charging points. There wasn't this infrastructure that we now have. And it was only until I'd literally, I think that day, I put the deposit down, I'd sorted the finance out, and I took the car home. I was like, crap, I don't know how to charge this. I know nothing about electric cars really. I like a typical geek. I kind of fell in love with the technology first, and I needed to figure out how the hell I was going to charge this thing. And the only nearest one I knew about was Ecotricity, and that is something that I had to use. There was no chargers at work. There was no local chargers where I lived, and I'd asked my landlord. They weren't interested in putting chargers in at home, and it was something that I was like, I was generally kind of nervous. I was like, had I made the right decision? This is something that it was a major change. You know, obviously you go to a petrol garage and a diesel garage and you fill up and away you go. Happy days. They're always there. What do you do if you have an electric car? Well, you know, like most people with electric cars back then, and maybe a little bit still now, I had to learn. I had to learn as much as I can very quickly. Now, if you have a driveway, you have an option because worst case, if you haven't got a full-fledged charger, you've got a 3-pin plug, you plug it in, and yes, it takes hours, but you've got an option. I didn't even have that option. Short of hanging the extension lead out the window, which I had done once, but neighbours didn't particularly like that. So and not exactly practical, obviously. So I used Ecotricity like for probably a good month or so. And that first month for me was quite touch and go. And it was like I said, the 35 miles there and a 35-mile back journey. for a car that in winter when I bought it was doing about 100 miles. And that was heat, like, you know, all new drivers, like electric cars, heating on, everything on, windscreen sort of heater and all that sort of stuff. So actually that 100 got a little bit lower and stuff like that. And actually it was, I had, I think 35 miles in the charge, and I was going to work and I thought, well, that's fine. 35 miles, that's got to be realistic 35 miles, doesn't it? Yeah. So I started going to work, and as I was getting nearer and nearer to work, the charger was going lower and lower. And it got to, I think, near the M11 going up to Cambridge. I think it's the M11, whatever that road is. It was, I got down to 5%, 2%, 1%, 0. And at this point, I was absolutely papping it, because I was like, this isn't going to work. You know, if I've got to rely like this on, I can't use an electric car efficiently. And actually, I crawled into Cambridge service stations, and luckily, EcoTrusty was actually working on the ... And I travelled about 5 miles past that ... to get in, charge up, get to work. Now, that was my one and only range anxiety time. And actually, since then, as most electric car owners will tell you, is it's something that you learn. You learn as you go, and you know to, if like me, you haven't any home charging, it's all about more planning than what an electric car owner probably does. And certainly back then, we didn't have the 300-mile odd range cars that we have now. So now, and even now, I don't have home charging. I was quite lucky about a year later that my boss put 3 7-kilowatt chargers in at work because he wanted them. So that was a bonus. I still had to pay for that. That wasn't free. So I charged up at work when I got to work. I had a full tank, and I went back home. I managed to get probably one there and back, and then there, and then charge up. And I kept on doing that. I kept on using EcoTrusty as we went, and then basically that kind of worked. And I've been doing that for, I would say, a good year and a half. And that worked well. Polar had then since put in a 50-kilowatt charger in Letchworth, and I had what was it, 4 chargers in multi-story opposite me, 4 chargers in Waitrose opposite me, and then the 2 that was originally there. So actually, I went from, in about a year and a half, I went from 2 chargers and nothing around me to a rapid charger and 8 chargers around me, and work charging. So it suddenly became a completely easy way of doing things. And I've been doing that kind of ever since. You know, if I'm in the office, I charge up because I can, and it's really cheap. If I'm at home, I'll go over and I'll pop the car in the multi-story, and I won't pay for parking, but I'll pay for charging. And there's just ways and means of doing it. And my only other time really is when I got to my first long trip. Now, I'm sure all of you on this chat has done that one first long trip in your EV, and it'd be interesting to let me know in the comments below what that was, where you kind of got over that initial range anxiety, but then you was going to do a longer journey, and you was worried about how it would work out. You know, you've got to do more than what your car miles would realistically do. Mine wasn't actually that much more. It was 130 miles. It was from here to, I think, end of Great Yarmouth, right to the end of the coast. But actually, my car would only comfortably get to Norwich. Now, anyone that knows that area is that, or certainly a year and a half ago, it was quite barren. And the nearest ones, they suddenly put in 2 Ballantyne's gym, they had 4 Instavolts, and I'd never used those before. I'd never heard of Instavolt before. So I kind of putting on ZapMap where I was thinking of going, and then I kind of went there, and then I basically decided, right, I'm going to try that. I'll go to ZapMap. I'll put that in and see how we get on. It was the first family trip as well, so I was like a bit nervous about that. Got down there, and I was very much trying to not to kind of do too badly. And then it was got there, charged up within like 20 minutes. That was really good. And then actually, it meant that I had 100 odd miles where I was, and then I'd done the same on the way back. And that was my kind of first I suppose longest trip, and that kind of dawned on me that actually you just don't need to do that. You don't have to worry about that. Is that whilst 2.5 years ago the charging infrastructure wasn't as good as it is now, but it was getting better and there was options. And actually, ever since then, I've managed to go further and further. Me and Gary went all the way up north and then across and then down in my i3. We've done something like 800 odd miles. It's good fun, but it's all possible. So I'm just reading some of your comments. So Darren, 2 weeks after first EV, 24 kilometer Hull to Edinburgh. Yeah, you pretty much are a legend on that, I think. Iris thinks not as adventurous as some. I only done 180 miles in my Leaf, well into Huddersfield, one stop. Nice one. Richard, Bristol from Brighton, but I've left quite a while before I attempted it, maybe a few months, but that was only 155 miles. Drove at 65 and charged halfway. Yeah, I must admit, actually, naive of me, but free ecotricity those days from Darren. Yeah, all really good trips, like absolutely brilliant. That's some really good journeys. But as you guys know, and anyone that's watching out here on this stream would be that this is something that is is just doable. I've always said now, if I had a choice again, would I pick my i3? And it's like, if money was no object, that's probably different. I'd probably go for a Model 3 or something Tesla wise, just because the infrastructure is part of the car. It's like an Apple product. No disrespect to Android, but Apple, they build the hardware and they build the software. It works in tandem. But it's something like that. If I had to choose it again, if it had a 200-mile real world range, I would do it. In fact, if they offered a 5 grand battery upgrade or something like that, where you could just drop out the old one and put a new one in with 200 miles, perfect. But for me, yeah, Model 3, maybe even the Model X, although I'm still on the fence on the Model X. It looks like a really kind of a merge between a Model X and a Model 3 kind of chunked together. I'll have to see one in the flesh, like with the Model 3. Model 3, I instantly, anyone would tell you, like, the first time I sat in one of those, I just fell in love with it. Amazing car. Obviously, money no object, roadster perhaps, but that's a long way away, or may never happen. But yeah, so that's kind of my journey where I am now in terms of the i3. The i3 is still, I love the car. I've had 2.5 years. I'm going to have it for about another year and a half at least. I may end up keeping it. Depends, not quite sure. But obviously there's something else. Yeah, Iris thinks Pulsar 2. Yeah, that's a beautiful car, to be honest. And I think there will be more options coming out. I think it's just proved, even in these times when there's some information around EVs and things like that, and there's obviously some delays and stuff like that. We know there's a barrage of cars coming out, from the ID3, the Model Y, the Polestar, and pretty much every manufacturer now is producing or going to produce an electric car. So where do I go now then? So those that watch my channel, and thank you very much for that. That's always great to have all of your support. If you haven't subscribed already, please don't forget to click that subscribe button. Maybe follow me on Patreon as well to support the channel. But it's always good. But I kind of pre-ordered randomly, like most people in the world. We saw the Cybertruck reveal. So on to the next topic of the Cybertruck and why the hell did I pre-order it. So the Cybertruck was one of those things where it was a 50-50 split, I think, for people, in that the Cybertruck was revealed and everyone thought, okay, that looks mad as hell. When you're going to bring in the real truck? And then it was the real truck. And I looked at it, and the first time I saw it, like most people, I was like, what in the hell have you done? It looks absolutely mad. It looks crazy. It looks so stupid with all those sharp edges that will never go through safety stuff and all the rest of it. But I kept on watching the videos, like everyone. I kept on watching it and watching. And there'll be 50% of the people that ordered it there and then, or put their £100 deposit down or whatever it is. Then there's the other 50%, which I was probably in the next day. We woke up again, we looked at all the videos again, and I looked at it, and I looked at it over the course of the day. And as more I looked at it, the more I liked it. And I just thought, I don't not like this car. I like it because it's so different, and it looks crazy. And I thought of actually owning something like that, which actually, in the grand scheme of things, isn't that expensive. It's still an expensive car. Don't get me wrong. Even like the i3. i3 to me is an expensive car. It's probably the most expensive car I've ever owned, because everything else may have been company cars and things like that. But this is the most expensive car, and this one is going to be, I think, minimum of 40, maybe 45,000 pounds, as and when it comes over. But it looks mad, and you can imagine driving down the road or pulling up to someone, like leaning out, and you're in the Cybertruck. Anyone that's seen the Elon Musk video with him going to some restaurant, like in his Cybertruck, it's hilarious, the look on people's faces. So I done the deed, and I stuck £100 down. Again, it's £100. It's still money, but it's a small amount of money, and it was a bit of fun. Will I actually buy it when it comes out? Don't know. I really don't know. There's a lot of circumstances now, and obviously maybe then I have to pay my current car off at the moment as well. Get that out of the way. I'm hoping for a decent chunk of money on a deposit at the end of it, perhaps, that I could use that against a Cybertruck or something else. I love the idea of owning a Cybertruck because it's so crazy and so different. Will it be something that I will actually own? I'd love to, but I just don't know how whether I can afford it. B, whether it's even practical. The American roads are completely different to the UK. The UK ones have got some tiny little roads, and you can imagine trying to get one of these down some of our country lanes and these little villages and things like that. Alternatively, it's so big you could probably drive through people's houses and villages and stuff like that, and that'd be the solution. But it'd be interesting to know what you guys think. What when you first saw the Cybertruck, did you love it? Did you hate it? What's your thoughts now? Do is it something you go, well, I didn't like it, but actually I'm warming to it, or is it still no, it's crazy as hell and no, thank you. It's obviously a complete shift from likes of Model 3, Model S, Model X, with the curves and things like that. And this is sharp, space age. And I've heard as well that this is potentially going to be used, or a version is going to be used for their Mars kind of rover, which I get. If you're going to use that to send that into space and go on planets, probably. Southwest area, no, as far as I know, what we had back then was about it. There was like 3 models: a single drive motor, dual motor, and I think a tri motor, with various, I think, like 300, 400 odd mile range and stuff like that. Obviously they're waiting for the Tesla battery to mature and things like that. But it's crazy as hell. I like your Richard's one. I thought it was batshit crazy to begin with, but grew on me. Wouldn't buy one though. I don't really need a truck. Kind of like the Rivian. Yes, Rivian looks fantastic, and I suppose Elon Musk Cybertruck crazy. Tank turns, yep, and Rivian. Rivian looks a bit more classy and like a real truck, and will definitely sell a ton of. The Cybertruck is almost like a Playboy's toy, isn't it? It's one of those things where you're like, if I had so much money, it's like, oh, I'm just gonna have a Cybertruck. So yeah, I completely agree. I think I'm still on the fence. I love the idea of having it. I think it's completely impractical for the UK, and it's unlikely that it'll actually turn up. I'm still expecting there to be changes. I can't see it coming out like that, or there's going to have to be a lot of laws and safety things changed for it to come out. The sharp corners alone is a death trap. So short of putting like barbed wire around the front of it and things like that. It'd be interesting to see if they put a tank turn on that one, perhaps. But Tank turn on the Rivian looks super cool. Easy way of maybe getting out of a parking space. I don't know, but it looks cool. That's kind of a bit about the Cybertruck, and I suppose I'm interested to see how that pans out. Tank turns in Tesco's, yeah, absolutely. That'd be awesome. It'd be a good way of getting other people out of the way as well. Although Cybertruck at the moment probably wouldn't be a bad thing, zombie apocalypse and all that stuff. Um, so it kind of leads me on to then car manufacturers in general. So my last kind of main topic is with all this craziness going on at the moment around the world, we've got car manufacturers in shutdown or making other stuff or delaying cars. Now, before this madness kicked off, I had quite a clear view, I think, of Tesla was always going to kind of succeed and go forward. They're already an electric car company, or as I like to call them, a kind of they're a tech company that makes cars. Then you had people that was catching up. So you had obviously VW that wants to release ridiculous amounts and still can't, and they've been delayed. And then you've got Polestar, and you've got all these great cars coming out. And I think there's a selection of those that will survive. And I think this situation has just made that much more harder. And I think there'll be companies that will come out of this really quickly and be able to turn that manufacturing key up. And I'm also wondering if you look at like all the stats around emissions and things like that, how that's completely or mostly gone, whether that's something that is going to influence people's buying decisions on cars now that they know that actually a world without all those cars and spewing out all those harmful emissions in their towns and cities, is it going to be enough, do we think, to move that people were maybe on the fence to go that way, which I hope it does. And if it does go that way, or people that are on the fence and kind of going that way, whether the car manufacturers that are already producing those or already ready to get cars out the door or line them up to go and they've been delayed, whether they're the ones that survive. It'd be interesting if your standard car manufacturer will survive out of this, not more so for the economic side of things in how much financial loss and things like that, but whether they'll actually then be able to gear up enough to move to fully electric as quick as, say, Tesla and some of these people that have already started making some of their manufacturing plants to produce those. Yeah, I think you're right. From the Southwest EV Owners Group, yeah, dropping emissions released lately will certainly open people's eyes. Absolutely, and that's what I'm in a weird way. I mean, this is obviously a bad way of it happening, but it's got some positives out of it. Unfortunately, it's got some positives in that for the first time, like when I go out to a park, I look up and there's no planes in the sky. There's no harmful pollution of every morning I would hear cars going past our flat and the bellows of smoke out of them and all that sort of stuff. And I know it's easy for me to say because I've got an electric car, as many of us have, but it'd be interesting if that turning tide is right. Do you know what? Actually, I've seen what the future looks like, and the future can look like electric cars when we need a car. And I'm not saying electric cars are the electric cars are going to fix it. It just won't. Actually, we need less cars on the road. Anyone that knows me knows that I'm into my Eastgate, and I love anything to do with like rideables and electric sort of transport. And actually, I'd like to see like the cities and the towns actually make those completely car free. And if you want to go into town, you either walk, you bike, or you can take an electric rideable. And there are appropriate laws around it and stuff like that. But I want to keep cars out of towns and cities. And actually, if you need a car, then I get that. Some people obviously can't rely on that. How bad do you think traffic will get in the UK in the next 10 years? I think personally, unless this thing that's happening at the moment isn't the biggest wake-up call for every government and every person on the planet, which it flipping well should be. In in the horrible way that it's presented itself, we've got to take some good out of this. And I don't want to get down on the situation. I'm trying to keep it quite light, but actually there's got to be some good that comes out of this. And I think one of the good things is that it could go one or two ways. Either we can go with, obviously, we know the petrol prices and diesel prices have hit rock bottom as well. So it could be that actually people come out of this and say, no, sod that. I'm going to keep what I have and keep that going and buy more diesel, more petrol because it's cheap at the time, and it will take a while for people to recover from that. And that could take many years. And I think if it carries on like that, traffic in the UK in the next 10 years will be horrendous. The towns and cities are already gridlocked. Even in my small little town, on a certain day, that will cause absolute chaos trying to get in or out of the town. London is horrendous. The cities and everything are being choked by all these fumes and stuff. So actually, we kind of want to take those out, or like Richard rightly said, Uber style autonomous cars. So you call something up when you need it. You need to get from here to there. Certainly in big towns and cities, but take as much of those out. I mean, if we go the other way, I'd like to see more green areas in the middle of cities. I'd like to see, more trees planted in the middle of the cities, and get rid of the cars and make them more pedestrian and electric rideables. And if it goes that way, then there's going to be obviously that definite positive effect. I mean, I know personally from every time I get on my e-skate, I I feel better about riding that. And it's not because of the food and stuff like that, although that's part of it. But also that is something that I like doing, and you're out in the fresh air and you can enjoy, something like that. Whereas if you're stuck in a car, or even an electric cars is great. Um, and prices will come down on electric cars. I've got no doubt of that. And I think that where we're hitting the bottom around 20,000, I think is kind of where they're heading. I think there's room to go. I think the more, dare I say it, the manufacturers in China, you'll definitely get cheaper cars coming across, and they won't necessarily be bad cars. I think they'll. It's like any tech, and the way to treat an electric car is exactly like that. It's like tech. When it comes out and it's new, it's expensive. The more people buy it, and the more the years go on, it gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper until it's mass market. The same thing happened with normal cars. Um, so I'm hoping in the next 10 years to answer. Hi Huss, thank you for joining as well, by the way. Um, is something that we can head towards that greener future, and that greener, like I said, the greener future doesn't necessarily mean just electric cars. It needs to have less cars on the road, more renewables, which we know for a fact over the last year or so that 100% works, whether it's solar, wind, water. They're so much better and now cheaper than fossil fuels, and we need to stop pushing stupid money by the government into those fossil fuel companies and cut them off. um, and then I think the electric cars will come down. They're already starting to become mainstream. There's still some work to do to push that and get it's the knowledge of those electric cars out to the mainstream public, because like anyone that drives an electric car, you can look at a car and it looks great and you can make your decision on that. But actually, when you get an electric car, it's a completely different thing to drive and to operate and to fuel. And if you haven't been given that advice, I've heard horror stories of people getting into an electric car for the first time, and they just are sent out into the world and they don't know what they're doing with it. And that's not on them, that's on the people that are selling the car. So, and it's not difficult. So I think, you need to let people have the knowledge, so they've got the knowledge to do what they need to do. Because actually, as I've shown, driving an electric car doesn't have to be difficult. It's like, a mobile phone. You may not know how to use a type of mobile phone when you first get it, but you learn it, and if somebody shows you. So it's a bit like that. Um, so to answer, I suppose, I asked, to be honest, I don't think Tesla cars even look that good. I like them. They're not the only cars, but there are a lot of other nice cars coming out. Polestar 2, like Irish Thinks was saying. So there's more choice. The biggest IP with Tesla, unfortunately, is their charging infrastructure. It's fantastic, and they built it hand in hand. So you buy a Tesla, you get the infrastructure, and that's definitely the way to go. The infrastructure is getting better though, and makes it easier. Richard, I think the slide in oil prices are raised to the bottom of a completely unsustainable business model. Yep, completely agree. And I think, yeah, Daily Mail journalists said they can write a story trashing EVs. Yeah, 100%. Daily fail, as I like to call them. Richard, my leaf looks like a frog, but I don't have to look at it when I'm driving. Yeah, true. Yeah, like the i3, people will love it and hate it. So, it's one of those things that sometimes it's about saving money. Me, myself, I've used to pump at least 250 quid a month in on diesel. My highest bill has been £40 in electric. So even if you don't deal with the environmental side, if you just want to save yourself money, go electric. It's as simple as that. Cool. So that's kind of the main topic. So I'm going to open it out to a bit of Q&A. So I didn't know how long this was going to go on for. It's great that I've managed to talk for 40 minutes, which is nuts, and that you actually have stayed there. Are you a fan of Elon Musk and his direction towards electric cars? So I've got two thoughts on Elon Musk. So I admire Elon Musk in terms of his vision and the fact that he wants to push the whole world forward. However, I think sometimes, as it's been proved, that he can maybe talk out of turn, because I think, like most people that are very, very intelligent, I firmly believe that he is, and he's quite a visionary. I think he doesn't know how to switch that kind of side of his brain off, and he just kind of says what he thinks, and sometimes that's not always the best option. But actually, the direction he's going with the cars, I think, is perfect, and I think more manufacturers should go that way. It's like you build a Tesla and a car hand in hand with the infrastructure, and unfortunately for everyone else, they're catching up. And actually, the infrastructure has been offered to other car manufacturers, but they didn't take it up on the option. So it's one of those things that um, I wish they had, because it would have made so much easier, and all the car manufacturers could have made the infrastructure so much better than it is already, and it would have been standard. Now you've got all these different manufacturers coming in and various ways. Hopefully, at the very minimum, the contactless payment will make that easier. Went off on a little bit of tangent towards the end there. Iris thinks, how are you doing during the lockdown working from home? Not too bad. I mean, I'm obviously sporting the caveman look. Can't be bothered to shave. Um, Hair's getting longer. No way of cutting it off at the moment or anything like that. So, but yeah, it's not too bad. I've been actually working from home for about 5 weeks. This is my, obviously, like everyone, it's like in the UK, it's the third week of lockdown. I was actually working, our company went into kind of home working 2 weeks before that, and yeah, to be honest, it's driving me a bit nuts now. I like the freedom. I like the Eastgate freedom of going out and kind of doing stuff. So that's the bit that is doing that. But actually, my contact and regular contact with people via video calls at work is keeping me sane. So it's actually keeping me going. So thanks for asking that, Iris. Thanks, Darren. Darren Sun. I don't know anyone who would go back after driving electric. Yeah, 100%. Unless they come up with some crazy thing that is so much better than electric, I would never go back to not drive an electric. It's fun for a start, it's fast, and it's cheap. So yeah, I'll definitely wouldn't. Southwest owners' thoughts on self-charging? Yeah, there's no such thing. It's physically impossible. Physics don't allow it to happen, and anyone that tells you otherwise of the advertising is rubbish. I am actually getting sick and tired of car manufacturers pushing that crap out to people. When actually, I've had people come up to me while charging and saying, "Oh, is that one of those self-charging cars?" No, leave me now. So probably regarding your Eastgate interest, do you think the law is finally starting to catch up? Yes, actually, recently we've started to have some bit of good news where the government are not only um, putting forward their plan for everything in terms of rideables and keeping, and scooters and e-skates and one wheels and all that sort of stuff, which is fantastic. A guy called Hafiz K, who you may know, if you've seen one of my early videos of me trying to ride a one wheel. Um, he's a brilliant guy, and actually he started up a group called ridables.org, I think it is, and he's actually with a colleague of his have been speaking to members of the government about legislation, and they've actually put something forward in terms of a test and some legislation and some framework for the government to use. So I firmly believe, certainly over the next year, I think we'll definitely see that, and I really hope so. I don't skate that much on the road, to be honest, because it does scare me a little bit. We have done on some group rides where we've had to. I absolutely, like you said, I mean, Darren, I absolutely love it. I adore it. And that came out of the electric car kind of love and fascination. It just kind of led on to that. And I'm currently saving up for another board. So I've got one already. And there's more to come, hopefully this year. So, and when I can get out, I just can't wait because that is doing my head in not being able to do that. I love those rides. Hi, Huss, but out of topic, but would you recommend doing a apprenticeship at a car company instead of an engineering uni degree? At the right car company, yeah. So I think there's um, kids now, and I've got a 4-year-old, so I'm hoping some of the things for her. But engineering is still very much good. Electronics is still good. Programming is good. So all these things, that engineering is still going to be there because there's still moving parts. There's less moving parts, but there's still a need for an engineering type thing. And actual Elon Musk and people like that are engineers. Electronics definitely, and programming, because these cars are only going to get more complicated and need programming in with AI and stuff like that. So I think that's definitely the way to go. So I would say a car company maybe, but the right car company, and one of the more upcoming ones. Unity, Tesla, if you can, Polestar. Some of these ones that are really pushing electric cars and have got a kind of a vision of the future. So good question, Hyas. Uh, Keith, fossil fuels to electric. The real problem is tradesmen like plumbers, etc., don't have time to charge us. They rush about, or street chargers, lampposts could help. Um, so your first question, I've got a friend who actually does. He's a kind of a workman, does loads of stuff around the house, drives a van. However, he's thinking about electric car, and actually vans make perfect sense because generally, and I'm saying generally because I don't know many plumbers and people like that, but like postmen, like plumbers, and all that sort of people, electric vans make sense because they're very stop-start. In fact, my friend, he does kind of I think he's in the Cambridge area, and he does the Cambridge area. And actually, he said if he had an electric van, it's very stop-start. So he doesn't actually do a massive amount of distance. And if you've got chargeable at home, 100-mile electric van on a day-to-day basis is perfect for those people, and it will save them a fortune, which goes back into profit rather than spending out on dirty diesel. So I think that's a good idea for them. On-street charger or lamppost could help, absolutely. On-street charger and lamppost, I know there's solutions that are out there and coming out there, so that's always good. I look forward to seeing more of those. I haven't seen many. I know there's some in London and scattered around. I'd like to try some, and maybe when we're out of all this stuff, I'll do a video on it if I can find those and try those out. So I think they're a good idea. My biggest problem with those is, unfortunately, some people are less considerate, and that they would park in those bays, and unless there's appropriate fines for people that do that, maybe. We'll have to see how that one pans out. It's a brilliant idea, and I like the idea of that. Richard, my feeder's just frozen. Is that just me? Mine froze for a second, back now. Let me know, guys, if you can still see me all right, and you can see my crazy hands. So hopefully it's not frozen. Let me know if it has. Cool, good stuff. Adrian Smith, I've had my i3 2.5 years. Best decision I ever made. Never go back. Yeah, fantastic car. Good choice. Hi Nick, good to see you on the stream. Thanks for joining. We'll have to reschedule our electric mini test drive. Yeah, unfortunately, I had to cancel, obviously, for obvious reasons. I'm still in contact with BMW, and they're more than happy for us to reschedule it and film it. So if you don't follow me on my YouTube channel, that is coming as soon as we can. Full full test drive of the full mini electric with me and my friend. My friend doesn't have an electric car, and they're thinking about going that way. So it'll be a bit of both in terms of their experience with going from a non-electric car to an electric car, as well as the electric mini. Cool. Hi, us. Surprised more people don't ride motorcycles in Britain like in Italy, Spain, and France. Oh, yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest. I know there's a good community of motorbikes in this country, and actually there's a few of my friends that do own electric motorcycles, so they're definitely on the route, and they look like a lot of fun. Crazy as hell, but a lot of fun. Keith, some on street in Camden near Arsenal football ground for the on street parking. Excellent, thank you, Keith. I'll give that a try. I'll give that a try as soon as I'm able to. Gary C, how you doing? Yeah, you missed absolutely everything, so don't worry. So, and it's not scripted, so don't worry. You know, we're seat of the pants type stuff. Richard, where was crap? Yeah, typical. Nick, yeah, we're still a petrol and diesel household, but want to switch if we can. Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to doing that one with you, Nick, because obviously we've known each other for some time, and I think it'll make a really good episode of your current situation with your two sort of petrol and diesel cars, what you use them for, how many miles you do, and then getting into. I know that you've got a mini at the moment. Getting you into an electric mini, I think, is going to be a fantastic experience. And I want to get you out to the EV Experience Centre in Milton Keynes, which is another great place to try out electric cars as well. So we can do that. Gary C, can you recap? Let me think about for the briefest of seconds. No. but you can read all the comments up there, which fantastic people have done. But we've covered loads of stuff, really important stuff, well breaking stuff, environmental stuff. In fact, we've solved everything, and you came in late. So, but anything else? So we're up to 52 minutes, which is a bit mad. I didn't actually think I could speak that long. Careful on the comments, because I know people will say otherwise, because as soon as I talk about electric cars, I can go on for hours. You still drive manual? No, haven't driven a manual since before. Actually, before that, no, my electric car is automatic. It's got like drive, reverse, neutral. So yeah, charging hubs thoughts. Good question. Charging hubs, I think, are fantastic. We've obviously seen the one in Milton Keynes, which I'm a big advocate of, apart from when they get absolutely crowded with a certain car company. Obviously, there's two in Scotland, like Dundee and stuff like that. There's the big ones that are going up across the country, GridServe. So GridServe, I keep hounding them for more information, and their first one is due to go into Braintree shortly, or certainly this year, but maybe not this year now. They look fantastic. They're like proper motorway services that are fully renewables and things like that. And there's meant to be 100 of these going across the country, and when that happens, that infrastructure problem, to be honest, for normal EV drivers that are not Tesla, goes away. That takes like those longer journeys, even though they're quite easy now, that just completely destroys them. However, they've got to make sure the price point and everything else works right. So I think EV hubs are great. I'd love to see an EV hub on the outskirts of Hitchin, for instance. And then, you don't have the ones in here. You just go there, you charge up if you've got that, or people going past or whatever. I think they're fantastic ideas. Excellent. Did you cover e-bikes, cycles? No. It's we had a few topics. We haven't covered those, but feel free to throw some comments in there, Gary. So that's good. Nick, solve world problems like we do when we meet the pubs. Damn, I miss them. 100%. Yeah. Although I think I'm turning into a raging alcoholic anyway at home. Weirdly, like alcohol is on one of those essential items. So happy days. But we'll get back to that. We will get back to that, I promise. Ridden any electric bikes since you're into rideables? I haven't yet. I really want to try one. I don't have a bike license, so I don't know whether they're the same. Are you talking about electric bikes, as in motorbike electric bikes, or electric powered bicycles? If it's bicycles, yes, I've tried a couple. I'd like to try more though. I'd really like to sort of give those a go. I think Richard, I think you've got one, haven't you? You've got an e-bike. Um, so if you have, then yeah, I'd like to give that a go. That'd be great to give that a try and maybe do a review next time we meet up, or we can meet up. Obviously when we're allowed. But I'd like to do one of those. That'd be quite good. Oh, okay, rented it. No, that'd be cool. But yeah, maybe we could sort something out with someone. If anyone out there is watching, and there's e-bikes, and I'd love to do a test drive with Richard and see if we can do a review of that. So that'd be cool. Brian Evans, do you know what form of transport are cars shipped from Spain? I'm waiting my course at E. Probably not likely to get one for the next 6 months. I like your test video. Great. No, thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. I would imagine by boat. If I'm honest, everything is by boat usually with cars. But I think getting things out in and out of the country at the moment is going to be tough. So yeah, I really feel sorry for you if you've ordered it and you're waiting for it. It will happen. I'm sure it will happen. And it's a great little car, to be honest. I love the Corsair. There's a video on my channel around that, and I thought for what it was brilliant. And they could have done a bit more, but actually I liked it. And the guy that was from Vauxhall had loads of good knowledge about it as well. So that was a great car, and I think you've made a good choice there. Right, and read through some of the last couple of ones. Such things as electric quad bikes. Yeah. Oh, now that would be fun. Electric quad bike. That to me would be an easy thing to do. Take the guts out of a quad bike, motor, battery pack, a few things. I could see that actually. If I had the money, that would be a fantastic little project. Hmm, maybe in the future, eh? I'd love to try it. If anyone out there has got one, I'm keen. You know me, I'll try anything dangerous. So, yeah, that'd be fantastic. Thanks, Darren. Great. Thanks for joining, Darren. Appreciate it. Rich Rebuilds is building a cyber quad. Check it out the channel. Excellent. Thanks for that. Thanks for that, Horace. Thanks. Brilliant. Okay, well, I think that's it. Thank you very much for all the comments. It's been fantastic fun. Thank you for kind of humoring me on doing this, and thank you for the people that like helped me with the technical stuff at the beginning to get that right. Looks like we're there now. When I can, I'm going to invest in maybe a bit of a higher quality a video camera. This one's a little bit grainy, certainly for me. But looks like the new rig works, and I'm going to try and do these maybe once a week if I can, same time every week. I'm hoping to try and work out how I get guests on as well. I've lined up hopefully electric petrol head. He's willing to come on, and I'm sure there'll be many of you that I'd like to get on as well. So watch this space. If you don't subscribe already, subscribe. Check out my Patreon page. Don't forget to give this loads of likes. So everyone on here should be giving that video a like. I really appreciate everyone's time tonight, and keep safe. Take it easy, and I'll see you on very soon. See you later, guys.